Welcome everyone to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about the Twilight Zone Season 4, Episode 3. It's called Valley of the Shadow. So full spoilers for the episode as always. And this one is about a reporter, who gets a little bit lost, ends up in a small town. Was it Peaceful Meadows? Something like that?
Yeah. Something like that. Peaceful Hills, something like that.
Peaceful something. But he sees something weird. Valley? He sees something that looks like his dog disappears. But then he comes back. It was a little bit suspicious. But then a couple of weirder things happen, and he ends up not being allowed to leave the town because he's seen too much. He's discovered the secret of this town, which is what the episode then goes into. These people in this town have some outrageous technology, or you could just call it a replicator from Star Trek if you really want to just give it a name.
Or a 3D printer, yeah.
Well, a 3D printer can't make food, which is maybe why I would call it that. But I do laugh though, because they've got these big like braille style cards that they have to put in like for each item.
So early computer stuff.
It's lucky it has everything you need there in this filing cabinet, because like, what if you... You know, it's like, I bet there's not a smartphone card in there. Because it's the 60s, you know?
Mm-hmm.
What about when things move forward? So, no, it's interesting premise. And I would say maybe more of what the episode really is about is when it kind of becomes this idea of him being prisoned there and told that he can basically be free and be happy and you'll never die now because of all the technology. But ultimately... like, what's the right thing here? Is it the freedom and the desire to use this technology, even though the people who do keep him here ultimately make some very good points about why this should remain a secret? So we'll get into all that debate in a bit. But Tara, what did you think of Valley of the Shadow? I
thought this one was pretty good, actually. I really was impressed by the episode. I thought it had a really good atmosphere. I really liked Rod's like introduction and setting it up to like, oh, why do we all drive by these like small towns and we wonder why do they choose to live there in isolation, and it's because they're harboring a secret. And I liked that. Of course I like seeing Scotty in there, especially when he uses technology to basically transport a dog. Seemed very fitting. And I liked the episode. I thought it was, it didn't feel its length. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, starring Ed Nelson, who I didn't recognize him, but he is actually a character in Police Academy 3.
Impressive.
I've seen him as an older man, much later. It's funny because you messaged me and said, "Oh, the main guy in this is reminding you of Bruce Boxleitner from Babylon 5, but also some Kirk Douglas." And what's funny is that, so I went in with this expectation because you'd already sent me that before I started watching it, and I'm sort of looking for it, and I can see and hear a little bit of the Kirk Douglas, but I was getting someone different. I was getting William Dafoe.
Really?
Yeah, I was getting Willem Dafoe from the way his mannerisms and the way he was pausing, and not every line, but a lot of the lines were giving me some Willem Dafoe vibes.
This guy, so. He's an actor that reminds us of a lot of people.
Basically, he is this like concoction of like three alpha men into one dude.
If all three of them had a baby, it would be this guy.
It's like twins. It's like they all into a cup, and then some scientist mixed it up and give it to a woman to go and give birth to the perfect specimen. Mm-hmm. That's what this was. But unlike twins, they didn't have like a sort of byproduct of a second kid that came out looking like Danny DeVito.
Right.
For anyone who's not seen Twins, that's the premise of like the backstory of Twins, is that Arnold is this like genetically like engineered. He's got 7 fathers who all like mix their DNA to create the perfect son, but oh shit, there's a twin, and it's like the leftover stuff is just why he died DeVito. That's the premise of Twins.
It's the same story I tell my sister about how she came around. She's not my twin, but she's like so small.
This is why you're the runt of the family.
Yeah. I got all the good genes. You got the leftovers.
I thought the episode was not bad. I think there are certainly moments, I think, in the back half where it sags a little bit, but I do think the debates that are ultimately brought up once everything's out in the open are quite interesting, and they do give me a non-clear, definitive winner, and in the sense of like not so much like who wins the episode, but just in terms of like which side of the debate I think is right, because I actually think both sides make very good points.
It's kind of like the Wakanda dilemma. Also, like we have this technology, we could help people with it, but like people could also use it as a weapon, so we're just going to hold on to it and keep it secret.
The example to get, because Redfield's the main character, he when he learns about this, like, you're going to keep this from the world. You've had this for a century, and you're not going to give it to the world to like cure disease and do all these things. And the guy's like, yeah, it could be used for that, and that would be amazing. But Einstein came up with E equals MC squared, and what's the main thing people remember that being used for? And it's just like, do you know what? He's got a point. He's got.
But also, I think having a replicator changes things. Like, yeah, sure, you can replicate a gun, but being able to just replicate food will solve a lot of problems. And also, like, if you have no need to want for anything, then like, why would you have wars?
That is true. I mean, there's probably a greater philosophical debate though about if we don't want for anything, then what drives us, and that could be detrimental in other ways. But like, that's a whole other discussion.
I mean, as far as like the hierarchy of needs are concerned, like if the base ones are all covered, then we can work on the others, like relationships, which is also something explored in the episode.
Yes, all the base ones: food, water, air,
shelter.
Yes. I really wanted to jokingly add in something silly at the end, but I'm going to resist the urge.
Gummy bears.
That's covered in food, right? There's 3 food groups: meat,
okay, fine,
vegetables, candy. So no, I think the backstory is kind of interesting. Like once the characters explained to him that there was a stranger who came here like 100+ years ago. Who might be an alien. They're not really sure. It's just kind of...
Yeah. I mean, all the aliens that we see, or the stranger aliens that we see in Twilight Zone, always look like humans. So.
Yes. But because
that would make sense.
Because we never get to see him, though, and it's all just a story, I mean, he could have looked different.
Yeah. Well, except for Kamenites. They definitely don't look human. Human-esque.
Humanoid.
Mm-hmm. Human adjacent.
No, humanoids, I mean, I'm not even cracking a joke. Humanoids is the word you use to describe a being that is human-esque in terms of 2 limbs.
I know. I like the phrase human adjacent.
What, you mean like Trump? Anyway, moving on. So we have this backstory that's mentioned. We the first part of the episode is very much him, seeing his dog disappear, getting concerned, and then, the neighbor, Scotty comes out and is like, oh, we can find your dog, but he uses a little device, the same device the girl used to make the dog disappear. And basically this device, funnily enough, we compare the main device they've got in their base to a replicator from Star Trek, because it's just making things, including food. But this also is kind of Star Trek-y, and when they describe it, they talk about the atoms being broke down, stored inside it, and then recreated. And I'm like, oh, so it's like the transporter. That is basically what you're saying.
How appropriate to have Scotty beam up a dog.
Yeah. Years before Star Trek existed, which is the shocking thing about the whole affair. But so it's like, okay, all right, that's pretty fancy. It does go beyond that though, and Star Trek has pulled this a little bit here or there, where the transporter's this weird get out of jail free. It's like, oh, they were stored in the transporter, we can fix like something that went wrong with them because it's in the transporter. Like they kind of have that here, where they can just like fix injuries and they can fix damage to things by
they bring a dog back from the dead. Yeah,
and there was actually in the description, or maybe it was Rod Serling's introduction or the teaser last week, but there was something mentioned about timey-wiminess, and I wouldn't say that it feels that way until the very end of the episode, where it does kind of reset things a little bit and puts them back at the start of the story. So yeah, but I think the debate's the most interesting part though. Is once he's like told he can't leave, and he crashes his car into an invisible wall,
which is a good effect. I thought they did. They did a good enough job with it.
It did look surprisingly all right, actually. I agree with that. Honestly, what's funny is later on when he's given a house, like, hey, you'll have a house, you can finally write your novel, here's a typewriter, all that stuff. What's funny is that there's meant to be like this a similar force field around his house, And what was so weird about it is that I thought it looked bad when he was pretending there was a force field, but the dog looked great.
Great. I agree. Dog's just holding the pose like this. He's still.
Obviously, there's like a bit of glass or something for the dog to lean against, and that's what he's doing. But the dog was like so convincing because he actually had something to lean against that when he started going like this with his hands, bang, bang, let me out of here. It was like, you just look silly, dude.
Yeah, they should have put some sort of glass up for everybody.
Yeah. He's been outperformed by the dog in this scene. It's just a shame. It's sorry to see. But, you know, once we're at that state, it's like, is he a prisoner? And they're basically saying this is the humane way of dealing with this. We can't let you leave because we can't let the secret out. But, you know, we'll give you a house.
But you can live in paradise, basically, and live forever.
You can have everything you ever wanted, and he's very much, no, I need to be free, I need to be these things, and ultimately, a lot of what happens in the back half of the episode turns out to be a test to see if he's trustworthy, to see if he'll do the right thing, or if he'll like take the first chance he gets to betray them and steal the technology and try to escape. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is, he does fall for it all, and he does try to escape. He does murder them. Obviously, they can bring themselves back with this technology, so they're ultimately okay, and that's why they can take this risk. But
yeah, I like their original demonstration is just they're like, don't panic now, and then they stab a guy and you see the blood come out and everything.
Honestly, that is actually probably the most violent thing we've seen in this show, is the way the blood started to...
I wonder if they were able to do it because normally you don't see blood in Twilight Zone at all. But
no,
like you can see
someone clutches their chest and goes, ugh! Yeah.
I mean, you see that in this episode too. But like, yeah, they stab a guy and he's wearing a white shirt, so you just see the blood come out, and then they reverse the shot so that it looks like it's being killed or reversed in time.
Yeah. So yeah, that stuff's neat. But he does like try to leave. He tries to steal their technology, their secrets. You know, there's a forbidden book that's got all the formula and stuff in it. Although it turns out to be blank, because it's all just a
ruse.
And it's like, honestly, at this point,
and they use the honeypot.
Yes, they use a woman to. And I'll be honest, I was glad this turned out to be kind of a ruse, because I never really bought the idea that she'd fallen in love with them. So when it turned, I mean, well, she's still supposed to have had feelings for him, but I was glad that it wasn't just that simple, because it didn't feel that convincing to me.
That's true, but she does seem like she's the right age, although who knows how old she really is, if they can just, heal people all the time.
Because the three guys who the committee who talk about all this stuff, like they mention, the stranger chose three people to lead the town. I assume it was them 100+ years ago, and it's still them.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the impression I got.
So they just don't age from wherever they were at the time of the arrival of the stranger.
Yeah, I mean, I actually expected them to make that more clear. Like, I thought they were going to do a thing later where, like, the lead guy with the goatee was like, oh no, we were the original three, it's still us. Like, I thought that was going to be a moment later, and they never did it, funnily enough.
Well, it makes sense. They seem to be, like, part of this very small committee with one person clearly in charge. Although that would stink if, like, the little girl never ages. That would be awful. But also the woman, like, I sort of bought that she would fall in love with him because she's stuck in this small town and she doesn't see any outsiders. And so, like, this attractive man with a cool car comes through and, he's interesting. And I believe that she would at least have some feelings for him.
I believe that. I understand why she would see him as appealing, because he is exciting, he's different, he's she's been seeing the same people her entire life, which might have been a very long life at that. And he, like, has this, like, curiosity, he has this sense of adventure about him, all these things. I just never feel, when we're on the couch, he's like, oh, I love you, you could be here and we could be together, and he's like, no, not here, I want to be with you out there where we're free.
Yeah.
And he kisses her on the cheek and stuff. I was like, it felt like it accelerated where I just wasn't feeling the realness of it. And so I was actually quite happy that it turned out that she was just kind of in on the ruse to sort of test them, even if she was conflicted about it.
Mm-hmm. I think she was trying to get him, because of the whole testing thing, I think she was trying to get him to quickly have feelings for her. Also, by, like, amping things up.
Yeah. So,
like, you need to save me too, because I'm in love with you. That kind of stuff.
But I think ultimately, though, because he does do all this stuff, and it is quite bad in that he does murder, like, three of them technically, even though they come back, that when they say, well, we've got to, like, do something about you now, like, you've proven that you can't, like, just accept this, And obviously he points out the hypocrisy that, because they claim they have no crime, they have no murder, they have no nothing, and they've not had any visitors in such a long time that this has not been an issue. And basically they've figured out a loophole effectively to like deal with them without having to murder him. Not literally anyway. Like, they're kind of taking away his memory and they're putting him back to the start of the story.
Yeah.
Which, and is that sort of thing where you could easily go, well, why couldn't you have just done this at any time? But he does say that, well, they've never had to do this before, so he's just had this idea. They've just come up with this now, that maybe we can pull this off. So that's what the end of the episode is that we go back to him at the start when he was asking the guy for directions, and he turns around, but not before seeing the lady across the street and having like a weird deja vu moment and going, nah, I thought I recognised her. Wishful thinking, and he leaves the town.
I was suspecting that they were going to lobotomize him. I don't know. Maybe it's just like the way they were talking. I'm like, are they just going to give him brain damage? I guess they kind of are. They just removed memories.
This is a pretty humane. I mean, I have no moral issues with what they did to him here at the end, to be honest.
Yeah.
This felt like a pretty humane thing. He leaves, he's forgotten the town, he wasn't harmed, he goes on his way, him and his dog are okay.
He's already late for something. He's going to get somewhere and be like, what? What do you mean I'm 3 days late?
Okay, he'll be a little confused about that, but I mean, that's not the end of the world.
I guess so.
You know?
Yeah.
Could be worse. So I guess I appreciate that. I guess I appreciate that they actually did think of a way to like solve it without really harming him or like giving in to the, we don't kill and stuff. Because when they're debating this in the episode, the other two guys who are on the committee are like, we have to do this. We're not doing it because we have anything against you. We don't choose to kill you, but we kind of have to. We believe this is important. That this secret, this technology should not be known about and cannot leave this town.
Right.
On the little girl, I suspect that. I mean, there's no reason why they still can't have kids. So maybe she is just like maybe they'll start using their tech on her when she's 18 or 21 or whatever age she wants to. Like, okay, calling it quits here. This is where I want you to stay for the rest of time.
Right.
Which would imply that anyone over the age of say 30 was already over that age. No, I was going to say, was already over that age back when the alien first came. So they're the originals because they wouldn't have chosen to wait until that age. No one was going to choose to wait until they're 45 before they say, okay, I'll stop now. They'd have stopped in their mid-20s probably.
I think some women look great at 45. Shut up.
I do too, but are you telling me that most people would say, no, I'm going to wait till 45 and put the pause there? I'll pause it there.
I don't know. Maybe.
Most wouldn't. Come on, you know they wouldn't.
I don't know.
I mean, I presume this technology is taking away aches and pains anyway, but let's assume that you still have natural aches and pains but related to your age. You'd want to stop at 21 just so that you're living comfortable for the rest of eternity.
I suppose that's true.
No, I'm going to pause at 50 when I got like knee pain every morning when I get up, like, my knees.
I always thought that when I was younger, that 27 seemed like a good age. If I could just stay 27 forever. It seemed like a nice number, good age. Like maybe I'd have things figured out by then.
Is that why a lot of famous people seem to die at 27?
Don't they die at like 33? Like the Jesus year?
No, there's a bunch of because I think River Phoenix, Kurt Cobain, I think will come to mind, and maybe a couple others, but
I don't think I've ever made that connection.
I just remember people talking about it that 27's like a cursed year for like troubled like artists. Like that's the age they go.
Maybe. Maybe Morrison was that way. Jim Morrison.
I don't know. Maybe Amy Winehouse was about that age as well. It seems about right. I don't know.
Well,
not anyway. That's about Amy Winehouse. I never really heard about her until after she died, if I'm honest. But that's just me being out of touch with the current music scene.
You ever heard the Rehab song?
Mm-hmm.
Try to make me go to rehab, but I said no, no, no. Which turned out to be, yeah.
I mean, that was a poor choice given. I mean, I don't know how she died, to be honest, but
drugs.
Well, in that case, it was a poor choice. I stand by my statement.
I can't believe you never heard that song.
I did. People always are surprised that I don't know certain songs. I can't name you any Taylor Swift songs either. I'm just like I'm out of touch with what all the kids like in the music. Okay.
Oh come on, you've heard some Taylor Swift. I mean, it's used in movies.
Not enough to recognize it. Not enough to where I know that's a Taylor Swift song.
All right.
I think that's fair. Yeah. So. Yeah, not bad episode, honestly.
I liked it a lot.
I think the lead actor has a decent amount of charisma. He doesn't come off.
It's that Bruce Boxleitner coming through.
He hasn't come off as a dickbag until. I think what makes him going down the darkest path when he does like kill some of them and tries to escape, and it feels like he's going down and it feels like he's making a really bad choice. It feels convincing because he hasn't just been like a villain the whole episode. He's actually been fairly sympathetic the whole time.
It seems like he's doing this because he's like, no, the rest of the world deserves to have this. Like, you guys shouldn't be so selfish. You should share. I mean, we can make the whole world like this pleasant valley or whatever you guys are.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean anything if in order to get it he has to steal it and does so by making a weapon. Then like that's the first thing he does. He makes a gun, which by the way, if you don't need any weapons and there's no crime and murder, why is the gun sitting in there as one of the items? What do you
for
need
the
it
test
for the test? Yes, good point. Yes, for this test. I suppose they can bring anyone back, so I mean I suppose they're not that worried about it either, relatively speaking, but
although it is interesting that you can technically make a 3D print a gun now.
But no, I think the fact that he does this, and like I really do think the test actually kind of proves why they have to keep this a secret, because all of his first instincts are to do all this. And even if he has the best of intentions, right? No one's really denying that his intentions, and no one's denying that he should have a desire to be free, because it's in our nature to want that. But ultimately, they're still kind of right. Like, he caused death, he stole things.
Sure, but like for how long do they hold on to this? Like, do they just wait for humanity to catch up to them, or wait for humanity to kill themselves when potentially this could save all of humanity, and this could end war?
I don't know. That's the episode's not asking or answering that question.
I think they're being selfish. Just like the Wakandans.
Well, this is what I said at the start, though, is I like that there's not like a clear right or wrong in this. Like, as much as I'm saying I think they've made their point, I still fundamentally agree with what you're saying. But I also think that when they're talking about devices that can take apart atoms and put them back together, like, anyone could turn that into a diabolical weapon. Like, you could just like rip a city apart with a beam. You know?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but like, look at what's next to the gun file. It's gold and stuff. Like, oh, we just want gold. You don't have to like mine it or put people in danger. You can just get it, and it wouldn't be of any value then afterwards.
Yes, but people still want power. People are still going to want to rule and be the ones in charge. And if people who are like that get a hold of technology like this, you know, dictators, the next, you know, Adolf, like, you know, whoever.
That's why they gotta give it to everybody. It's the only way it'll work. So everybody has it.
Nice idea in theory. I'm just saying they make some good points. I'm not saying that it's definitive and they're definitely right, but good points are made. And regardless of what you feel, they believe it and they solve it. But anyway, it's kind of an interesting ending, honestly, for a Twilight Zone, because it does end kind of neatly in a way that makes sense for the episode. So yeah, not bad. Yeah, episode.
And I definitely was not expecting the turn of the papers just being blank, the book being blank.
I thought it was going to be like, oh, it's fancily alien like writing, you can't see it.
Yeah. Well, once she's like, well, open it. Like, it seems like, something's going to be wrong here.
It's just going to be a picture.
But I just wasn't expecting that. Like, until she said the line, I was like, oh, I totally thought that this was all happening.
I was expecting a picture of Rick Astley, even though he wasn't born yet, probably. No, he was probably born. He's probably born, because you know, that song was from the 80s, so he's probably already born by this point.
Probably born.
Yeah. But,
well, maybe.
I mean, it's 63. Like, no, maybe not. Maybe he's just floating around in his daddy's ball sack at this point. I don't know.
What's coming up next?
I don't know why I said it that way. I feel like you're more in your mother's system than you are your father's system. But
I suppose it's equal, right?
That said, they both recycle quite frequently, so it's not like Anyway, doesn't matter. A lot of turnover. Yes, what is next time? It's a good question. Apparently, we're getting a very young Dennis Hopper in the next episode.
Hell yeah.
In what looks like a very Nazi-looking state. Judging from the clips presented after Rod gave his little teaser. So
I think we hear a German guy speaking to him from the street.
Yeah, they're not using.
He's in shadow.
They're not using actual swastikas, but they are. They got the red armbands. Well, I mean, obviously it's black and white, so I can't see it, but they look red.
Yeah, apparently his car in this episode is also red.
But so it's called He's Alive, and here's the description on IMDb. A tiny neo-Nazi organization struggles pathetically to succeed in a big city. A mysterious figure begins to ruthlessly guide a young, insecure US Nazi leader, and the group begins to draw more attention. This is
interesting.
Very interesting. I mean, I'll be curious to see how this turns out, but like it's kind of weird to hear people talk about neo-Nazis in 1963. Like, I mean, think about it. It hadn't even been 20 years since the World War II ended.
Yeah.
But I guess, relatively speaking, they're new. Hence neo. So, okay.
And American, so yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe that's inspired what happened in Florida last week. I don't know. But anyway, there was people with flags and.
I don't think
stuff.
I saw that.
Oh no.
I normally get the news every morning, but my Google thing has been messing up. So.
Oh, has it been doing? Because in this episode of Twilight Zone, he goes into the hotel and there's like a newspaper that says like 1952 or something like that, and I'm like, is that what your Google's doing? Are you getting like random news today?
Well, because it's Black History Month, it's been giving me in this day in Black History.
Yeah.
But then it normally goes into the news, and it doesn't do that now. It's like something about adding in this new feature has taken away an old feature. So I've been like behind on the news because that's the only thing I listen to to stay up to date. Unless like my phone gives me a notification about something major.
I don't know if anything else major's happened in February as of yet, but I mean,
that's good.
We'll see. By the time you see this episode, though, everyone on YouTube, it'll be a couple of weeks probably from now. So.
Who knows?
So yeah, so if something big's happened and you think it's weird that he's not mentioned that, this is we're in the past, right? We're right back near the start of February.
That's right.
I don't know what's happened in the future, but yes. So yeah, there you go. That is episode 3 of season 4 Twilight Zone. Now there may be a bit of a gap before the next episode because we got new Star Trek shows to do, and those kind of interfere with the Twilight Zone schedule a little bit. But we'll try and trickle them out as best we can while those are still going on.
We still love the show. We want to keep going.
Yes, just make some gaps here or there. But
you can blame Connor. He's the one who's supposed to do Star Trek.
It's all Connor's fault. I can concur with that. So yeah, let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at @mail_fuzz for channel updates, and of course you can support us over at Patreon. Can't you, Tara?
That's right, Peter. If you enjoy our reviews, please check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com. You always screw me up somehow. I just need to like block you. There we go.
It's just the way it's like you don't sound like that at all in the rest of the review.
Let me use my fancy voice.
There you go. That's right, Peter.
That's right, Peter. If you enjoy our reviews, please check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/mildfuzztv. And if you donate as little as $1 per month, you will get access to bonus episodes for other shows we do. And if you donate $5 per month, you will get access to these reviews 1 week early. Back to you.
If you order right now, you can get this limited edition plate collection for just $59.95. Don't hesitate. Order yours today.
Ooh, I hope it's a James Doohan one from this episode.
That's what I'm getting. I'm getting QVC, like from you.
Just trying to jazz things up.
But yes, that is our thoughts on Twilight Zone. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV in the Twilight Zone.